begun to self-mutilate. Brilliant. But she could not find the words to tell Dad and Mom what she was feeling about both of them going away. Thank goodness, as you say, they identify, and the father was sensitive at least. And I worked with the child and became her voice with her permission. It allowed the two to begin to work through the separation process. And at the same time, she's now allowed to be the little girl because she wants to be the little girl, but she was forced to be the adult, caring for the two parents, making sure they didn't worry about her. So she became very, very stoic. But at the same time,
little girl, right?
the self-mutilation began. We are putting a lot on our children.
I'm thinking about the stigma, how mental health is stigmatized, or seeking mental health professionals. Oftentimes in communities of color, people go to friends to do the gut spill. Is that an effective way of cathartic or releasing? Is that a good enough substitute?
I love the phrasing.
I know. I just made it raw.
I
just say it. Okay. Thank you.
In my generation, back in the baby boomer days, the church was a phenomenal place where you did have a release, whether you were able to really articulate or verbalize what it was.
Right, or heal it.
Or heal it, but at least you got the release.
Yes.
Unfortunately, churches are not as safe, and maybe they weren't that safe then, but there are places where within our communities.
That's interesting that you say it's not safe because of all that we've been through in the last 20 years.
And not only the last 20 years, even recently. I mean, if we look at, once again, children, where the children fit in. When you find that there are that leader who represents faith,
is preying on a child, yes.
Raping his own daughter, then we need to look at, where do we go for consolation? Where do we go where we can trust? And so my point is that we have to begin to look at creating better, safe places. We also are forgetting the fact that we have a whole generation of children right now who were victims of taking medications given to them scientifically by different doctors, different psychiatrists, different whatever.
Are you speaking of the Ritalins and things of that nature?
That's right. And if the parents did not, we're talking socioeconomic background, if the parents did not sign and allow them to have this medication, they would not get the assistance, the financial assistance or housing.
Oh, really?
So we need to look at
those are policies,
who are the babies, who are the children that are falling within a certain catchment area. What brought them to this point? So we can't say the blame is in any one place.
Right, it's all over.
But we have to look at how are we treating this situation.
So what does an intervention look like when it's all over when it's everywhere?
Okay, but the thing is that you have to begin to build their self-esteem, build relationships. When it comes to depression, it's all about connecting, attachment, the theories of rebuilding a confidence in a relationship with other people, so that the play therapy, a supportive therapy, recreation, bringing the family together, getting them involved in activities that are supportive, going to church and so forth. It's not very fancy, but it works.
Right, it's common sense.
You have your family gatherings, your meals.
Like you said, connections.
Right.
And I've always felt that there should be parenting courses.
Absolutely.
I have always felt that, because my question is, how do we build resilience in our children? We live in a really scary world right now. There's so many things that they have to deal with. I'm not saying that we didn't have to deal with a lot of things, but it just seems that there are so many more things that they have to do. How do we create in them, you said 5 years old. Someone said 5 years old children start to suffer from depression. And that seems like a pretty young age to have depression. So how do we start to build build resilience in our children so that they can deal with the things that are going on in this world that they may encounter, both in their homes, because some of the things that they're experiencing, some of the trauma they're experiencing happens in their homes and they're not telling anybody because they're protecting the people in their homes. So how
Children
as
are
a society,
but children are resilient. I'm going back to what I heard Delrita say, connecting, validating them, reaffirming them, letting them know that they can trust. They're more resilient than we'll ever be. They're naturally resilient. But once again, it's creating an environment. An environment.
Are they, meaning they're resilient, but then they'll have scars from childhood, right?
Resilient means I have scars, loads of them.
Okay.
But I've chosen to find
All right.
ways
Yes.
to evolve them and take them to create something new. It doesn't mean that we don't have
have it,
scars.
but
In
you
fact,
figure
each
it
one
out,
of us here,
right.
we're very scarred.
Yeah, you know it.
well, we're resilient. We build resilience.
But the children are even more resilient than we are. It's about the connecting
And you get
and
them
building trust.
And you get them to develop whatever you identify a talent that they have. And I found that the creative arts therapy is the most natural and supportive to children in our community because they
So
don't
what is that?
have
What is creative arts therapy? Meaning,
That has to do with
dance
drawing,
and
dance
right.
and-
The creative arts. Okay.
Right.
They
music
also love
and-
the mindfulness. They
Yes.
love mindfulness. And the
Right.
beautiful thing about that, it becomes a family art, a family practice, because they're able, I've taught it in all the schools, in many schools, teach them just how to focus their breathing. Shilpa, you're really good with the mindfulness.
Well, yeah, mindfulness is a very useful skill. It just kind of
And that's just one.
Yeah, it keeps them grounded.
Right.
It gives them
Their
time
control
out, and
of
it's like your
themselves.
body's inherent sort of way of calming down
Right,
anxiety.
right,
You know, just
right.
breathing. Oftentimes we don't think about breathing because it's just an involuntary process. And once you start thinking about it, it becomes a whole new. It's a revelation.
So are our healthcare delivery systems in our communities, are they able to cope with these kinds of issues well enough?
Wow, that's a really loaded question, but you know, it's just there's so many people coming through the pipeline, and it's the demand is more than the supply, and so we do suffer in that area.
Right.
And I would say that Dr. Shilpa put it very gently.
Yeah,
and
she's very
professionally.
gentle.
No, well, it's about being honorable, but the reality is that we have to also look at what is the purpose of all of the different facilities that perhaps are rising within our communities, just like with the Ritalin and what have you, where there is money, let's face it, that's where, and where there's Medicare, what is it, Medicaid?
Medicaid,
Look at the
yeah.
communities. That's where the centers and mental health programs are there. But the question is, are they serving?
Right, and are people using them?
Well, the people
feel-
use them, but are they serving
Right.
the public, the children, the community,
Right.
beyond getting the money?
And what happened, unfortunately, the way the system is now, like before we had a wide range of facilities and programs. They want you, when a child, you know, has this condition and needs treatment, they want you to fix that kid in 2 or
Right.
3 days.
Oh, good
Well,
grief,
that's
right.
that's
That's the
also
money, turning
our
over the
quick.
money.
But our society's so focused on a quick fix, right?
Right.
So the parents will come and they'll want it. They will persistently that's what they want because this is what's going to make my kid better. And so oftentimes they're not even open to any other sort of way to handle the situation.
How does one fix a kid? I'm very concerned about that. I want to know just the,
Well,
the
some-
mindset of fixing.
Well, some will come
know,
in,
it's
they'll say they
disturbing.
can,
Very
they
disturbing.
can take a pill, they can take a
Take a pill.
Prozac, a Zoloft,
That's what I'm
and the
afraid of.
symptoms will
That's
be
what we're
gone.
talking
But that doesn't even work because those medications take weeks to really kick in, and you don't give it to everyone. And the children like small doses and so forth, and hopefully they can take them off of it as quickly as possible. But psychotherapy, like we find that we have to spend, in the initial evaluation process, that's where we spend the most time. If we can identify the problems, get the parents and everybody, the social workers, ACS, the judge, whoever
Schools, everyone.
is involved, the school, to sit down and talk about that particular kid, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is, that is something that we can do. And from there build from that. They may come back and forth, they may go different places. They may go from one hospital to the other, one clinic to the other, one school to the other until they grow up, or one agency. But there's a network for them, but it has to be support. People can't say, oh, they're just manipulating, trying to get money for welfare. No, that's not why people go to mental health centers. They're really in trouble.
Right.
They're in trouble, but where do they go?
Right.
And then if people are looking at them as, well, why spend the time with them because they're going to end up in jail anyway? You have to train people to have a positive attitude about working with these people.
These
Absolutely.
are clinicians or these are providers. I mean, everyone's going to come to the table with their own biases, right? So
Right,
how do you-
but I think when you serve a community, you need to have training.
Oh, yeah,
So
of
that you
course.
can
Standardized training
right,
for everybody.
Yeah, training so that you can release some of these biases. Well, this has been quite a rich discussion, ladies, and I'm hoping that people will be able to take a lot from what you said, and that we will prevent suicides, and that we will see this rate go down. That's all the time we have for this episode of Brooklyn Savvy. We'll see you next time on Brooklyn Savvy. Is brought to you by Verizon and Investors Bank.